I'm honored to be here today with Emily O'Hara from eBay, who is the Global Brand Officer.
Yes, well, Global Head of Brand and Media.
Global Head of Brand at eBay. And here we have Lisa, who is the co-founder and CEO of JOAN, the creative agency, which I know really well. And I'm very honored to actually be on a stage with you. So thank you. So today we're here, and the theme of this panel that we're just going to go through today, I'm just going to give you a quick review of. So, from pioneering e-commerce to reimagining its future, join eBay and JOAN as they reveal how they're transforming this iconic marketplace for a new era. Learn how strategic shifts in both internal culture and external marketing are reshaping the brand's global presence and connecting with today's consumers in fresh, unexpected ways. So, just want to really just dig into a couple of highlights here and topics. So, you've launched this new global brand platform and marketplace for eBay. And the title or theme of it is Things People Love, which I think has been the constant theme of eBay maybe since day one. It's a passion place, it's a passion marketplace, which has no kind of boundaries of age or geography, which I think still today is quite unique about the eBay brand. But, you know, launching that's quite a big deal, you know, from a brand that's been around over 20 years. And so, you know, let's start with you, Emily. You know, you've taken on this role. It's a big role, not only to, you know, transform externally to existing and new audiences, but also there's probably some internal things that you've had to probably change and lean into to make this a possibility. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. It has been a journey. Actually, Lisa and I had lunch, and we've been partners now for 3 years. And reflecting back on all of the things that we've gone through in the past 3 years and what's remained the same and what our context is today. And I'm happy to say we've made progress. But I think the thing that I've always told my team, which is the biggest thing that is in our way at eBay, and we're going to be 30 years this September, is actually ourselves. And so a lot of the work that we needed to do was to simplify, to get ourselves out of our own way. And so a lot of that is the not as fun stuff that you see in a sizzle reel, like making sure that you are set up with the right team, that you have autonomy and ownership over the budget, that you have the right partners around the table to be able to complement you and make sure that you're going to market with a perspective that you might not have internally. And I think last but not least, it's really getting a global team aligned and that trusted relationship with how you're going to work, rallying behind one brand promise, and consistently looking at how we can be relevant and authentic for our customers who've been with us for 30 years. So a lot of work behind the scenes for sure.
So along this journey that you're taking, most people, when they're doing this, you have an agency or an agency AOR, and you sit around a table and you try to put this together. That's the traditional way. I feel, since I've got to know you guys a little bit, that this is not a traditional agency brand partnership. This is a real partnership. This is not a vendor relationship, it's a partnership where you guys have come together and you're working on this. So, Lisa, tell me a little bit about what that partnership looks like and how you work together, you know, in terms of implementing, ideation, and then execution.
Yeah, so Emily mentioned we've been working together for 3 years. When we very first started working together, it probably was a little bit more like a classic agency relationship. And I think part of that is just the trust that you get over time by delivering and by growing together. I think, you know, in that time, eBay's transformed and JOAN transformed together with eBay, which was really exciting. And because we had such a deep trust after so many years, it meant that the substance of our conversations was not about ads per se. It was about accomplishing the goal, accomplishing a transformation. So we don't really see ourselves, for example, as their ad partner. We see ourselves as the partner in growing their brand around the world to be a sustainable, amazing, world-class, top 10 brand. And so I think, you know, eBay, it's a testament to eBay also for the trust they put in us and inviting us into the kind of conversations that allow us to do our best work and allow the contribution to be there.
Now, one of the most interesting factors that I see about, or the challenges that may lay ahead for you, is the global process. You know, many people have talked, certainly over the last 5 years, global to local, local to global. Okay, that story, but you truly are a global brand, and you probably, you know, in every single country, you've got customers, you've got sellers, your marketplace are operating. How do you tackle global, okay, of such scale of eBay in over 200 countries more, languages, payment transactions, and keeping it relevant? You know, how do you look at that?
I don't think there's one right model. And I mean, we were also talking about this literally on a phone call this morning with my team, which is in the US, Germany, and in the UK. And every day is a balance of making sure that we're giving space and listening to each other and putting the customer at the center of what we do. So I don't think we've cracked it, but I think the thing that is amazing is that it's one trusted team. We all have the shared objectives, and keeping those front of mind is really, really key. I think the other thing that is really critical is focus, and making sure that what we need to do as a brand, where the dollar investment, where the message is actually going to make an impact, and making sure that we're always rallied around long-term growth and not just a short-term game, are the ways that we can make sure that we have the time and space to get the right briefs, to figure out the right problems to solve, and then try to solve them together. I think the other thing is optimizing, and it's this also, I think, is a testament to our partnership, which is not a client relationship. It's kind of like, hey, like, what would you think, or what would be your feedback if I structured my team differently to have a model this way? What are you seeing in other brands that you're working with? And I think those things allow us to be agile and nimble, to shift so that we can do a better job. But I think all of that, and last but not least, we drown ourselves in data, for better or for worse. It's one of the greatest equities we have as a company. But the customer and getting feedback all along the way, informing where there's an opportunity, informing the creative, even we create the partners that we have, is really critical.
And from your standpoint, Lisa, when you're looking at a brand like eBay and, you know, its size, its structure, its internal politics and red tape that come with a large organization, you as a creative, so many ideas, so many things that, you know, you want to do, how do you manage that, okay, with your partner here, you know, around that? How do you, how do you work with that? Because it must be, you know, you've got all of these ideas, you want to execute, you want to do things. You're like, these are great, I want to do all of them, you know, but it's then, you know, translating that internally. Obviously, data can underpin some of that. You do something, you try it, the data says, hey, this was great, so you do more. But I think with what you guys are doing, you're taking some chances, you're taking some risks. Just tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that is our responsibility is to keep being fresh at every market, at every turn, but to build the business. And I think you get the ability to do the best work when you can prove the business impact around that work. And I actually think it's, in some ways, I know this is going to sound crazy, but like, it's almost easier now because there's so much more information and helping you guide that decision. And also, some of the things that are really working still feel fresh, like, you know, leaning into influencer, for example, and kind of thinking about influencer in a wholly new way. It gives us the chance to try some things in a way, in a channel that it's really performing. And so it feels like innovation and moving it forward without the tremendous risk of skating on like fresh ice with like a lot of money, without the kind of confidence that it will work. So I think it's really about making sure the creativity is truly rooted in business, that the risks are proper risks, and that you can innovate where possible in proven channels.
I think one of the interesting factors after seeing that sizzle reel that was put together, which I loved, and I was sending notes to Lisa last night, very late, about it. But there was something that struck it about me, and I just want to raise it, is that, you know, eBay, we all know it, it's a household brand globally, but there is competition out there. There are new marketplaces that are coming out, you know, aggressively, 2-3 years old, you know, and they're taking share. But what I have noticed about those marketplaces, their theme is usually around deals and discounts and for less. And that's what drives them and drives their marketing and drives the consumer behavior. I don't see that in the eBay creative. I don't see that in the narrative that you guys are putting out there. You're really leaning into, this is a place where you can solve dreams, you know, you can solve your passions, and it's a great way to find diversity across, you know, a global array of products. So is that something that you set out to do, or is it just that is eBay? Just tell me a little bit about that.
It's inherently eBay, but there is intention because we do not own any of our inventory. Like, we are a marketplace where buyers, sellers come to trade, to buy and sell. We do not have all the levers to control that. So ever trying to compete on value alone, value at price alone, is not a place we want to play. Because actually the beauty of eBay is this thing that we call our spectrum of value, which is the fact that you can get something brand new, that you can get a one-of-a-kind signed item that's coveted, that you can get something that is of value to you, like a teacup that, you know, your grandmother used to have that was lost somehow. And I think it's the fact that there's no other marketplace that can offer that sort of value. And so for us, instead of anchoring on a single reason to believe, what we do is we target a lot of enthusiasts. So what you see in the video, which might have cognitive dissonance, we're going from F1 or motors to something like high-end luxury fashion showing up at Met Gala. And the way in which we develop that content and those partnerships is highly targeted to be relevant and build the stories so people can kind of find the things that they love on the platform in a new way. And so the dimensions of stories we can tell are really never ending. And I think that's the fun, because the marketplace is changing with culture. It's changing every day. It is not static. It's living and breathing. But it's also the complexity, because we need to be single-minded if we're going to mean something for someone. And so it's striking that balance. And that's something that we're just at the beginning of.
Lisa, eBay, it's not like Temu or TikTok Shop, slightly different. The question I have for you is, eBay speaks to everybody, every generation, all ages, around the world. How do you look at creative, executing and coming up with creative ideas for that, when it's really hard not to single out, leave out? I mean, you have loyalists. eBay has loyalists. You know, it really has built up loyalists. It has fan bases. But again, it covers all age groups and genres globally. How do you look at that without trying to fall in the creative matter of like, oh, we've got to be cool to speak to this generation, or we've got to be cool to connect here, or we'll lose that share? That must be really challenging. What does that look like?
It's challenging, but in a really fun way. I mean, look, we all work for and around brands that have a really utilitarian reason for being, but eBay has a very emotional reason for being. Like, if you're buying something that you need, you go to Amazon. So easy, Walmart, whatever. But if you're buying something that you want for some sort of deep reason, you're on eBay. You're a trading card person, you're a watch collector, you're looking to replace something from your grandmother. It's like there's a very emotional reason for shopping, which means it doesn't matter what age you are united by something really deep. So that's the first thing. There's a unity in that. I think the second thing is the days of doing mass advertising alone, altogether, appealing to everyone with giant television commercials and stuff like that, those days are not the days we're in anymore, which is wonderful for creativity, actually. You can do that somewhat, But the reality is when you have a brand like eBay to work on with a ton of fandoms, the most interesting work is actually to speak right into the fandom. And that's why Emily was like, this may seem weird that this is all together, but it's highly targeted. So the motors people, the motorheads, are totally different than the sneakerheads, are totally different than the thrifters. And those audiences are so fun to talk to using the same insight that unites everyone, but in a very deep and personal way in the thing that they care about and love. So from a creative perspective, it's extremely interesting to work on. The universal nature of doing mass marketing means that you kind of round the corners for everybody, but the specialty advertising that targets a specific audience is where you can get a really good connection with your people.
Another topic that I find interesting today in marketplaces, specifically as more and more are launching globally, is consumer trust.
Yeah.
How do you, eBay, maintain, you have extraordinary consumer trust? They trust you, okay? A lot of platforms that come out, I know myself personally, and maybe a few people here in the audience, I've ordered something from TikTok Shop and it's never arrived. It's happened to me 2 or 3 times, and I'm sure it will continue to happen. But, that is a big thing out there in the marketplaces, consumer trust. If I order something, is it going to be the right thing that I see, from that person who's selling it? What trust or what factors, creatively are you thinking about, are you doing to maintain this level of trust, which I think far outweighs any other marketplace out there today?
Well, I appreciate that, though we are not perfect. I think we go at this in a few different ways, and I think on the platform itself, our enthusiasts are at the center of what we do. And why that's important is because those are the people who've been with us from the start and are continuing to be loyalists. Those are the ones we also want to make sure they're happy. And so when we change the experience, those are the people who are emailing us. Like, why did you do that? This is the way in which I eBay. We need to modernize, but we need to do it in a way that satisfies what they need, but also is meeting the next generation. So over the past 3 years, we've made huge investments in trusted services, not to get in the way of buying and selling, but to make sure you get exactly what it is that you're ordering. So in our motors business, which is our largest business actually across the big 3 markets we have something called assured fit or guaranteed fit, which if you put your make and model of your car in, it will filter everything on eBay to make sure it is something that actually could work for the car and the model that you have. Something as seamless as that just really allows you to have confidence that the thing that you're trying to get is going to get you back on the road, is for the car that you're modding. And the other thing that we have is authenticity guarantee, which is another new service. A lot of other fashion platforms have authentication, but these authenticators are actually enthusiasts themselves or trusted partners out there that are working across jewelry and whatnot. And I think these are the things that we are starting to put in place that just start to reinforce not only the value, but the authentication of all of that. We really do have your back. I think I'd add, I think for any brand, what we see as the hardest working channel for us, we call it influencers, but it's a recommendation from a trusted person. So word of mouth marketing is it. Yeah. And so for us, a big thing is well, how do we utilize the amazing enthusiasts and communities on the platform to tell our story on our behalf? I mean, we have an army of sellers who are there. They want their businesses to thrive. So how do we start to unlock that? And then other partners like Condé Nast we've been working with for a bit, which have reach and trust with audiences that we might not yet. So how do we partner together? But the importance is that those partnerships feel authentic too. Correct. And that it's not a sponsorship. It seems to be a shared investment and that we're both looking to unlock something for the future. So those are different ways in which we're looking at it, but it's a fine line. At the end of the day, customer satisfaction is how we measure trust. And if that is going down, we've got a big problem and there's no marketing or branding we can do to fix that.
Creatively, Lisa, when you're looking at that as a two-sided marketplace, you market to people to come and shop there, but also part of the other side of it is to encourage people to come and set up shop on eBay and trust you as a vendor, as a partner to actually showcase well and transact well for them. Is it getting harder due to more platforms out there to attract people or to understand how to market to them. So, how do you approach that today differently, to attract people to come on board and trust eBay as their business, basically, as their storefront?
Yeah, specifically, I would say in the UK and Germany, the seller work is really, really important, in part because there's a big business opportunity there, not necessarily for anything but growth. Also it's tied to the economy, right? So if you can sell something that you no longer need, you could buy something that you really do need, and it's a closed loop system of your spend, And I think also especially in Europe, there's a big emphasis on sustainability and not putting new things into the world. So the resale opportunity in Europe is massive. And a lot of Europe has Facebook Marketplace or like peer-to-peer shopping in that way, whereas eBay offers more trusted services, as we just talked about. So there's such a good business opportunity to get sellers on the platform especially outside of the US. Here, we're really known for it already, so it's not a huge thing. I think the quality and the quantity of our merchandise is one of the biggest assets of eBay at large. Like if you are a shopper in Germany, you can buy something from Japan or the US, right?
Yeah.
Might cost you a little bit to get it there, but you have access. But if you buy from a resale site or sell at a resale site, you only have that geography, generally speaking. So there's a lot of advantages for people to sell on eBay.
Creatively, one of the things that I think about in my head as a previous agency guy is how do you look at creative when you've got over 200 active, countries, let's say, and it's kind of like, is that 200 different creatives? Are you starting with a theme, a brand, top of the funnel, global look, and then breaking that down into cohorts of Europe, Middle East, or are you breaking it down country by country and then down to that local level? I just, it's the question that I was thinking of yesterday, actually. So,
you want me to answer? You want me?
You can amend. Focus. We do not try to boil the ocean. So our biggest markets are the big three. So UK, Germany, and the US. And if either of those markets is not performing well, we're concerned about the core of our business. And so focus on those. Part of the foundations that we've built together is the global brand creative platform, things people love. It is an overhaul of our design system that infiltrates all the way through product. We have global messaging frameworks and understanding our all of our measurement and tracking for brand health and perception metrics. All of that is global. So we're able to diagnose and we have the frameworks to execute. But for us, the work that we're really focused on is across those big three markets. And so that helps to simplify and that we can be resonant and relevant in the context of each of the markets, because it's a bit different specifically right now in these times. However, the other thing that we are looking to do, buzzword AI, is how do you do production at scale? How do you do translation? So less of a focused immediately in the world that I have in brand and media, but my partners in CRM. And we think about kind of the mid-funnel assets and social assets that we have that you need to be refreshing at an exponential pace. These are the places where we're testing and learning our way in to be way smarter, to help inform even messages that come to the top of the funnel. But it's still early days. I think we're all doing that in a way that isn't going to disrupt the whole system. We're not going to hurt trust, but excited about the potential there.
Creative mix, Lisa, has it changed in terms of, everybody starts with TV, outdoor, radio, podcasting, digital, social, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I'm sure, 5 years ago, the media mix, global companies was this. 3 years ago, pandemic, it was this. What is it today? Has it changed dramatically in terms of, the creative formats and distribution that you're using today than you were maybe 3-5 years ago?
Yeah, I would say that there is a center of gravity shift, not necessarily a spend shift in general. I don't know. You would have to answer that question. But the center of gravity of the way we think about the brand is more rooted in cultural things, like whether it be social or influencer activation or things like that that affect the culture. And then we definitely do still big scale campaigns. Those are really part of running and driving a global brand, reaching the mass amount of people that you can, right? But I think the days of like, you start with a television idea and that idea then gets cut down into multiple pieces or something like that. And maybe you get to the end of the deck, which has like a social idea in it. That's really flipped, I would say now, in terms of where we find the brand moving and going, and partly where we think it really should be moving and going for not just eBay, but everybody in many ways.
We have a couple of minutes left. I have 2 more questions. Okay, one, I love how on the red carpet now, when my friend Ryan Seacrest would say to somebody, hey, love that purse, love that watch, tell me about it, eBay. I mean, that is incredible that, that people now in that celebrity level confident or just feel empowered to say it's from eBay.
This has been a long time coming. To speak to truth on this one, we didn't have a lot of credibility 3 years ago. It's like, well, what is eBay going to be doing at the Met Gala? I have no idea. But active conversations now with Anna Wintour. What role can we play at Met Gala this year? And we were the only brand who was called out just organically on the carpet that isn't a designer that is designated to be there dressing talent. And so those are the moments we want, because the true story on the other side, the stylists are always sourcing from us.
Right.
It's just the story that is not told. And so this is where we remain persistent. I think also in a world where sustainability is a play. In the UK, we have an amazing program where we have a stylist that exclusively dressed celebrities for the red carpet appearances through everything sourced on eBay. And I think these are the moments where we can tell a really lovely story. We have the history of the fashion. And so, yeah, look out for the first Monday in May. You will see some fun stuff from us at eBay.
Final question for each of you. What are you most excited about in the next year for eBay?
Wow.
I'll go first while you formulate your thoughts. I feel like the last year was such an incredible year. We launched Things People Love globally. We launched our big, campaign idea. We launched the big influencer program. We really tightened up the Vogue partnership. We really strengthened the big 3. This year, we have more room to take more swings, try more things. So for me, it feels like we've earned the credibility and we've got the results to prove it. And with that comes, I think, institutional support to try some things that are really going to be amazing.
She nailed it. I was with our CEO, Jamie, yesterday reviewing our board deck. Every March, we do a full walk of marketing. And for him to walk into the room and say, I read through the slides, it looks great. We don't really need to talk about it. It's like, okay. This is a very different position in where we are. And so to have the trust and the authority that we're doing the right thing, we are able to go and take bigger risks than we ever had to before. And because of the hard work on the foundations, we're able to go at a much faster speed. So I'm really excited about that. I think the other thing is, internally, I have never heard so much pride from employees where it's like, finally, eBay is showing up the way in which I've always wanted it to. And I think that alone, to be really proud, feels really good also. So it's going to be a good year.
I love that. Well, thank you both. This has been wonderful. I wish we had more time, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.